Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a topic that completely transforms how we look at artificial intelligence management systems under ISO/IEC 42001-2023. You know, when we think about AI audits, it is so easy to get lost in the technical weeds, right? We're talking algorithms, data pipelines, model drift. But in this explainer, we are going to focus on the human element. We're going to look at how transforming stakeholder engagement from a dry, tick-the-box exercise into the actual guiding compass of your audit is the true secret to building safe, secure, and trustworthy AI. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover why stakeholders matter, internal versus external players, tools for active engagement, collecting and analyzing feedback, documenting the evidence, and finally, driving continuous improvement. I want you to think about this question for a second. What is an AI audit without the human element? Well, honestly, it's basically just a technical inspection. AI systems are fundamentally different from traditional IT. They learn dynamically, they make probabilistic decisions. But to truly assess the risk, the performance, and the real-world impact of those decisions, you absolutely need that subjective human element. It's the missing puzzle piece that turns a purely theoretical risk assessment into a practical, resilient management system.
Section 1. Why stakeholders matter, the compass of your audit.
Engaging stakeholders isn't just a nicety, it is a strategic necessity that will dramatically improve your audit's efficiency and effectiveness. AI algorithms are notoriously described as a black box. We put data in, we get a decision out, but the inner workings, they can be totally opaque. Stakeholder engagement, however, is your open book. While the AI itself is highly technical, it's the stakeholders, the employees, the users, the managers who actually reveal the real-world daily impact of your AI management system, or AIMS. They're the ones who will tell you if the controls are actually working in practice, or if they just look really good on paper.
Section 2. Internal versus external players, identifying the voices.
The ISO standard requires us to recognize that risk management is not an isolated activity. On one side of the coin, we have our internal stakeholders. You've got top management driving the strategic direction and resource allocation, your InfoSec teams are the backbone implementing the daily controls, and your employees? They are on the front line adhering to policies and providing first-hand operational feedback. Now, on the flip side, we have external stakeholders. Regulators are there to ensure you're legally compliant. Third-party vendors absolutely must align with your security standards so they don't introduce vulnerabilities. And customers, their feedback is quite literally the ultimate real-world test of your system's quality. Encouraging active involvement from both sides means you have to tailor your approach to their very specific interests.
Section 3. Tools for active engagement, uncovering insights.
All right, as a lead auditor, you can't just sit back and wait for people to come to you. You have to get out there. If you need to reach a massive audience quickly, surveys and questionnaires are going to yield great quantitative data. But for deep, specific operational concerns, one-on-one interviews are your best bet for qualitative insights. You can also utilize focus groups to really understand team dynamics and workflow bottlenecks. And for external transparency, especially when you're looking at system reliability that impacts broad user bases, public consultations are your go-to tool. Knowing exactly which technique to pull from your tool belt for a specific scenario is really a hallmark of a great auditor.
Section 4. Collecting and analyzing feedback, making sense of the noise. Okay, so ISO 42001 demands a highly systematic, rigorous approach to processing all this human data. Step 1, collect the feedback through those channels we just talked about. Step 2, categorize the data. Group it into themes, things like security incidents, compliance gaps, or user experience. Step 3, analyze for trends so you can spot the systemic issues. And finally, Step 4, act with corrective plans. Let me tell you, closing this loop and actually showing stakeholders that their feedback led to real change is the absolute #1 way to encourage their continued active involvement. Let's actually zoom in on that analyze step for just a moment. If a stakeholder flags an issue, you can't just treat the symptom, right? You have to find the disease. Root cause analysis, or RCA, is how you trace issues all the way back to their origin. For example, let's say a forecasting model is suddenly generating highly inaccurate predictions. Using a method like the 5 Whys, an auditor might trace that performance drop completely back to a subtle change in the input data pipeline. Identifying that root cause is what allows you to actually fix the AI system rather than just putting a bandage on the output.
Section 5. Documenting the evidence, proving your compliance.
Listen, you can have the absolute best stakeholder conversations in the world, but in an ISO audit, if it isn't documented, it simply didn't happen. You absolutely must have stakeholder engagement records. Save those meeting minutes, save the interview transcripts, the survey results. You also have to document your feedback analysis, showing exactly how you identified those trends. You need a crystal clear record of the actions taken, specifically your corrective plans. And finally, you must document your follow-up and communication to prove you actually closed the loop. This is your foolproof checklist to transform subjective human interactions into hard, objective compliance data.
And remember, your documentation must be clear, accurate, consistent, traceable, and evidence-based. Why does this matter so much? Because in the incredibly dynamic, high-stakes world of artificial intelligence, this meticulous written record is the final guardian of accountability. It proves your system is operating reliably, and it helps prevent unresolved operational conflicts from snowballing into massive system failures.
Section 6. Driving continuous improvement, the ultimate goal.
Look, passing the audit and checking the boxes is great for sure, but the real long-term value lies in what you do after. I want to read this quote directly from our source material because it is just so authoritative. Continuous improvement is a cornerstone of ISO/IEC 42001-2023. This means that audits should not be considered one-off activities, but part of an ongoing cycle. Engaging your stakeholders is not just some chore you do to pass a test. It is the literal engine that drives ongoing evaluation, learning, and development, which is what builds highly resilient and trustworthy AI systems over time.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. Your stakeholders are talking. They are experiencing the real-world effects of your AI systems every single day. So the question is your AI management system actually listening? By utilizing the tools, the structures, and those rigorous documentation practices we've explored throughout this explainer, you can ensure that the answer is a resounding yes. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you are feeling energized and ready to apply these strategies to your next ISO/IEC 42001-2023 audit.